topics like immigration and gender. Good, because I'm against censorship. He's going to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more, which is great. He's also moving content moderation to Texas instead of California, which is banter. So now the cynical version is he just realises we've got a new regime, it's the MAGA era, and I want to be mates with Trump, who said that I should that if I interfere with the 2024 election, he should spend the rest of his life in prison. So he did mention he might be a bit scared of that. He was involved in that in Facebook suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop scandal, and I feel that he didn't like being a part of all that from watching interviews.
And also the suppression of arguments about gender and sex, what is biological sex and whatnot. You get banned for saying there are two sexes.
They're on the wrong side of this, and now he's correcting. But the weird thing is the people, of course, the people who don't like this, the lefties, this person, Ressa, is saying that this is a big problem. That it's an extremely dangerous time. I've seen all this from the lefties. They just call it disinformation. They're worried about this because to them it's disinformation. To other people it's information.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I think we can all agree if people think they're getting their facts just directly from Facebook, then something's horribly wrong. But we know that. The community notes thing, I think, is quite good because that sort of first-hand experience people are putting down, aren't they?
Yeah. People have loads of different views come together, and it's an aggregate, so that's why it works.
GBNews, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation.
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, it's 11 o'clock, which means it's time for tomorrow's newspapers tonight. Join us over the next hour to find out, what does Nigel Farage think of his fellow politicians? Why is Lego homophobic? And what is Lucy Letby speed dating? I'm Josh Howie, and tonight I'm joined by organ donors Steve N. Allen and Cressida Wetton. Together, we'll take you through Friday's top newspaper stories. This is Headliners. But before all of tomorrow's news, let's go to tonight's headlines with Mark White.
Hello again, the latest headlines from the GB News Centre. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has attacked the Prime Minister's leadership style over claims he broke COVID lockdown rules. Speaking to GB News, the Tory leader questioned the excuse Sir Keir Starmer gave for meeting with a voice coach during lockdown. Ms Badenoch branded Sir Keir a lawyer, not a leader.
Interesting is just how hypocritical Keir Starmer has been. I don't know anyone who needs emergency voice coaching on Christmas Eve. I think that Keir Starmer is a lawyer, not a leader, and I think he knows exactly what he can and cannot say to get himself out of trouble.
Meanwhile, GB News can confirm that the Prime Minister has met in private with victims of the Southport attack. It's the third time Sir Keir has been to the Merseyside town since last July's stabbings. This latest visit was intended as an opportunity to meet the bereaved families and some of the victims in the wake of the sentencing of the Southport killer, Axel Rudikabana. Earlier, the Prime Minister visited Lancashire and said nuclear power would be prioritised in the spending review. At a laboratory alongside the Energy Secretary, Sir Keir said more nuclear power plants would be approved as red tape is slashed. Ministers say the plans aim to make it easier to build small modular reactors to help deliver clean, secure and more affordable energy. Two suspected people smugglers wanted by French authorities have been arrested in the UK by the National Crime Agency. A 47-year-old Albanian man and a 25-year-old Iraqi national were tracked down and detained in London. Prosecutors in France accused them of being involved in a number of small boat crossings in 2022. They're also suspected of money laundering and other organised crime offences. Police and tech companies have agreed to work more closely to tackle phone theft. The pledge was made at a summit chaired by the Home Secretary. It follows a week of action across London in which 230 suspects were arrested. Scotland Yard said the trade in stolen mobiles is worth more than £50 million a year as the devices are resold in the UK and abroad. And finally, the King and Queen are to pay state visits to Italy and the Vatican in April. The major spring tour follows multiple trips last year by King Charles and Queen Camilla, including visits to Australia and Samoa. The royal couple will meet Pope Francis at the Vatican and celebrate the Catholic Church's Pilgrims of Hope Jubilee year. And that's it. You're right up to date. Now it's time for Headliners.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello and welcome to Headliners, your first look at tomorrow's top stories with three spiffy comedians. We're going to kick off with a look at some of the front pages. The Daily Mail, new era of stagflation thanks to Reeves' ruinous budget. The Telegraph, bloated state is harming the economy. And The Guardian, fears over stagflation as Reeves' growth plan suffers double blow. Steve, stagflation.
Stagflation, it's where you get the male deer and an air pump. And is that what it is? I really should have read this beforehand, although the Daily Mail goes with a different take. New era of stagflation thanks to Reeves' ruinous budget. 100 days on from it, the Bank of England's downgraded their forecast of growth to 0.75%. That might look like a small number, because it is, isn't it? I mean, it's less than 1%. It's a really small amount to grow.
50% less than it was going to be.
50% less than 1.5%.
Which is what it was.
We're on maths again, and I feel on safe ground.
Yeah.
It's like being in a room with Thomas Sowell, isn't it? These two economic experts with me. Well, I'm not an economist, but half. That's not
half. Thank you. That was the number I was looking for. Is that a number half? No.
It's just not looking good. I was reading rumours earlier about Starmer bidding her all together.
Yeah.
Not confirmed. It's just
well, he said he wouldn't. Which is always
isn't it?
And now he's not so sure.
Surely you've got to tweak before you do that, because if you get rid of your Chancellor, you're gone. Basically, it's one of the things as you loop round the plug hole of a Prime Minister. Yeah. So look, I mean, do some tweaking. And what I did want to mention in this, though, with the OBR saying negative things, the Bank of England previously on Talking About the News, people have cast these organisations, these left-wingers saying nasty things about the Tories. No, it turns out they're also willing to say nasty things about numbers that don't add up.
Yeah, and it's interesting that they're sort of going, stagflation, it's just going to be like the 70s. But I suspect a lot of people now don't remember the 70s.
Yeah,
maybe our audience is different because we have a very wise audience.
Think of The Good Life.
But I don't think they're going to remember exactly what it was like in the 70s. And they're talking about here like figures like inflation like 20%. That's not what they're talking about in reality here.
Yeah.
But the idea that this bit goes up and this bit goes down leads to a flat line. Is that the gist of it?
I was with you up until the graph theory of this bit plus that bit.
I did try.
You don't remember the 70s. Look, you're like 3 months older than me or something.
Right. I don't remember the 70s, but I remember people talking about the 70s. My point is that the Mail's going on about the 70s, and I don't think that a good part of the country now are even going to remember people talking about
the people who read the Daily Mail do.
Well, all those young people.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. Well, look, let's go on now. The Telegraph has just a whole chunk of news there, doesn't it, Cressida?
They certainly do. Bloated state is harming economy. So similar situation there. There's a note at the top, could Trump deport Harry?
Yes.
That's the story that keeps
going on because he lied. Well, I suppose he lie on his visa application or not?
Lie in the book. He must have lied in one of them, the visa application or the book.
He lied in his book just to sound cool. Yeah. Hey, everybody, I did drugs because I'm a dude.
I wouldn't put it past him, actually. And now he's going to look really silly. He's going to look like a silly boy.
He's going to have to go to Trump and say, I'm just trying to look cool. Donald,
exactly.
Mr. Donald, Mr. Trump.
Exactly. There's loads of little things on here. What else have we got? Miliband plan could cost families £800 more bad news about net zero and such. No one likes it, do they?
I'm willing to pay any amount of money.
To get your carbon down to...
to zero.
Zero.
To be a net zero family, I will pay... No, not at all. But another £800 to add to the however many thousands so far. And also there's this PM Axe's bid to reform sick note culture, which was an initiative brought in, or was going to be brought in by the Tories to sort of bring in somebody to kind of go, nah, come on, you're fibbing, you're not really sick.
Yeah, it required, instead of your GPs doing it, experts.
Specialists.
Where are you going to find them? We don't even have enough... You can't see a GP, let alone some fictional higher-up level.
It'll be like some sort of lie detector thing, and you'd sort of call, and then they check your social media, see if you're out in the pub the night before.
Fair enough.
I think it's Alan Sugar.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Well, he knows.
Sitting
he
over a
pulls
big
it out.
desk like this, and he just gives you a once-over and says, no, back to work.
No.
You're not fired.
Quite an interesting story. Navy embraces saris, am I pronouncing that right? Saris, in the name of diversity. Some people trying to make this into a big hoo-ha.
Finally.
Yeah.
All these people who want to combine their sari and their naval career will be able to do that.
Well, as it's been pointed out in the article, they already have people bringing their more specific cultural dress, i.e. in terms of Scottish people can wear kilts with their Navy uniform. So this is just another part of people's culture. What's the problem?
I mean, it's such a non-story to use that theory, because it is the slippery slope. A uniform is meant to be uniform. The uni bit at the start tells you what it should be. So as soon as
I thought that's for university.
As soon as you let one bit go, then of course you can have your Scottish thing, and then you can have your Irish thing, and then you can have your Welsh thing. Well then, yeah, why not? But it is for the formal dress, not like when you're actually in the middle of a war dress.
How did you feel about Worf in Star Trek Next Generation? Do you think he should have had the thing on? Yeah. Do you think that was allowed? No.
Ridiculous.
No one else had a...
Well, any of the Bajorans did get to wear the ear thing. But
yeah, but then they weren't part of the Federation initially, so maybe that was part of their...
By the time Deep Space Nine comes around...
I imagine we've managed to keep a lot of...
You guys
Bye. See you next time.
Yeah. The bloated state is harming the economy. This is from Andrew Bailey. He's basically giving reasons why this stagnation, or part of the reason is, and we've hired too many people in the public sector.
And they're not giving value for money.
Surprise.
Exactly. What a surprise. So we're spending more than ever on the public sector. What I'm interested in is they talk about not having a measurable... There's not an increased output. What would that look like? How are they measuring this? I just think that's fascinating.
Well, it includes teachers, doesn't it? So more kids. I think you need to count how many kids are
But they've said
school.
It's mostly within the NHS or health-related activities. That seems to be where the bulk of it's
that's my...
Yeah.
So the output going up means more people are sick and getting treated. I don't know. It doesn't sound good to me.
It's the problem with the NHS. The number of people leaving the hospitals can never exceed the number of people going in. Well, I suppose maternity units. So actually, that's the way to do it. If you want to get productivity up, you've got to get the birth rate up.
Fair enough. There is another story here. We're going to cover that, though, in a coming up section, because I need time to fully allow my head to explode about London's first Palestinian demo was planned as the October 7th horror was actually going on. But like I said, I need time to sort of gear up and just into that one.
Spoiler alert, don't give away which stance you're going to take on it.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. OK, yes, it could be any way, who knows. Let's go on to The Guardian then, please, Steve.
Stagflation? No one's talked about this. Fears over stagflation as Reeves' growth plans suffer double blow, the two that we've just mentioned. And they've also got Cairo in warning on Trump's Gaza plan. This is his plan. I don't know if you've heard about it.
No.
You might not pay any attention. It's a two-state solution where none of the states are for the Palestinians. So technically, it still takes...
It's a one-state solution. That's what the pro-Palestinians want, is a one-state solution.
I mean, the Trump state is the two-state. He'll still own it. There is no way it's going to be anything other than Trumplandia.
Yeah.
But you've got Cairo saying that they would resist any of... it would destabilise the area, wouldn't it? Like all of the other states nearby.
Do you know why it would destabilise the area?
Because then you'd have other people who are more likely to kick off in these countries that have managed to not have it.
Which is exactly what the Palestinians have done in every single country that they've gone to, Lebanon, Jordan and whatnot. And the first thing that Egypt did after October 7 was just build a massive wall to stop people coming in for exactly that reason. But, I don't think it... Cresta, do you think it's actually going to go ahead It seems...
It's just extraordinary, isn't it? I've been struggling to picture it. We were talking about it earlier and thinking, does he really mean it? Is it a bluff? I mean, at first I thought, oh, it's like a sort of somebody in the north hundreds of years ago. It's philanthropy. They're building something for the community. You know, they used to build the big cotton mills, but I don't think that's what it is.
Is that how you saw it? I saw it like 60-minute makeover, where they're out for a while and they get back. Look what we've done for the place. Oh, they got so upset.
You know what a lot of people say is this? They say this is Trump speaking Arabic, in terms of speaking the language of the strong man. This is what they understand. It's sort of bluff, strong rhetoric, and that is the sort of Arabic mentality. That's what people say anyway. And so it doesn't matter necessarily where that happens. It's more just the fact he's saying it pushes...
Do you think everyone will behave a bit better then in the region?
Well, they already have. They've had hostages coming out before he even got in. So, yeah. Anyway, let's move on and have a look at a couple more pages. We have the Metro. Hostels in crisis over winter vomiting bug. The Sun, my Liam dreamed of 1D. One Direction.
You're only 3 months older than me.
And a reunion and star boffins, lazy gits live longer. Cresta, the Metro here with this bedlocked...
Yeah, bedlocked. Wards filled to the brim as norovirus surges. Apparently 13,000 spaces are taken up by people fit enough to be discharged. Well, have you ever had it? It's fantastic for weight loss. I know the country has an obesity problem, guys.
Was that why you were out just sort of getting people to cough into your face?
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I was up to. So it's not good, is it? It's January and our NHS is at breaking point. What? No, it's not. It's February. Yeah.
Which newspapers are you reading? It says the date right at the top. Don't start a thing of reading out the date from the top of newspapers.
Steve, this is the same old story. Basically, the real problem is that there are too many people in beds and they will not be taken out of the beds.
Yeah, it's the not having the care to go home. Yeah, and... I mean, that would improve your productivity in the public sector, getting the people who are who are blocking because they've got nowhere else to go. So maybe reform the social care. I guess there's a review on that doesn't report back until like 2029 or something.
Well, these people will still be in there then. Right, what about the Sun? Now, this is the story that you
we just skipped over Blake Lively.
Oh, you're right. Let's do the Blake Lively.
I mean, I don't really know the details, but the more I'm learning about it, I'm loving this story. I ignored this for ages, and then it turns out there's some naughty text involved. I've been enjoying reading those.
They are really good. No, because did you read it? Have you read any?
No, I've seen a couple of YouTube shorts.
No, they released.
She sounds difficult.
Oh, she sounds difficult, but there's all these texts, and they're like talking about rehearsing, and she's just like, oh yeah, maybe we can be in the flesh. It's very flirty, and then he's like, oh, I've done a nightmare day with the kids. And he's just sort of, he just totally rebuffs her. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's the good stuff.
I do have the phrase "never with teeth," though. I've never used that before, but that's how she flirts.
Got to use those teeth. Anyway, do this One Direction. You were so desperate to. I didn't particularly want to do the Sun, and you were like, "No, Josh, please."
We definitely have to cover this. Look, I mean, it's my Liam dreamed of 1D, One Direction. Josh, I know you're slightly older than me. Reunion. Yeah, we're at the stage now where we don't need these details on the front page. It does feel...
You think it's a page 2 story?
It's a bit gross, isn't it? It's a bit... Yeah. Well, the details of the death and the tragic death, yeah, but the now...
You like that stuff? That stuff should be page...
No, that is news, isn't it? That's what I mean. It's front page news when it's news. But now this is like story the girlfriend has to say about a reunion. Oh, I'm sure 1D fans will love this, but it feels a bit tacky.
Well, yes, it is a little bit. The Sun is a little bit tacky, but Cressida... It's not even a story. Oh, do you think that this person wanted the reunion of the band that made him a millionaire and super famous? What a shock story.
Yeah, I tend to agree. She's been protesting her innocence that she didn't cause his death the last few days. I've seen that headline quite a lot. And it says here, fans sent me death threats. People get death threats a lot these days, don't they? It's a common thing.
Have you had a death threat? You don't get death. Do you get death threats? I get death threats.
Much worse.
I get some death threats.
I don't know what that is.
So she's clearing her name again, isn't she?
Yeah. Let's finish on the Daily Star. This is actually a really good story. This is like my dream life, and this justifies my entire 40s, really, up until this year.
Boffins, lazy gits live longer. So there you go. Don't put any effort into anything, you'll be around longer.
Yeah, to enjoy life.
No, not enjoy life. You live longer as a gelatinous blob on a sofa with the imprint of your own backside underneath you.
As I said, enjoy life.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. OK, coming up, we have the front pages have been unlocked, but lots of news goodness to get through. Who's going to rehab and what loco policy have locomotive operatives brought in? Find out in 2. This is Headliners, only on GB News.
is GB News, Britain's news channel.
A woman of 53 has believed for 18 months she was in an online relationship with Brad Pitt.
I think we're seeing pictures. So
Now,
these are the pictures that she received that made her believe that she was in this relationship with Brad Pitt.
And you'll see that some of it is in hospital because the scammer was claiming that he was suffering from cancer. This was playing very much on her emotion. So this is a divorcee who lived in Mauritius. She'd received a £700,000 divorce settlement, or £650,000 divorce settlement, I should say, and £700,000 has been taken from her through this scam.
Yeah.
As she was becoming, every time she became suspicious, the money was taken for payment of charges on gifts that she never received, and then hospital fees. There was lots of emotions being played into there. Now, as somebody, I'm a rom-com writer by trade, so I write romantic fiction. And one of the books I've written has actually been about somebody who did online dating, got herself into a whole heap of trouble. Not quite. She wasn't in a relationship with Brad Pitt, but she met somebody dodgy. So because I've written that book, I've met a lot of people who've come up to me and said, "Oh, it's happened to me."
It's scary in this digital age, isn't it?
They've lost 700,000, but somebody has tried it on. Somebody my question is, would a man go 18 months in a relationship online without seeing somebody and keep it going? Or is this feeding into this neediness of a particular demographic of a woman who that's better than anything else she got going on in her life, was what was being fed to her over the internet?
And then maybe a little bit of her knew, but she kind of just suppressed it because she
was hoping it was Brad Pitt.
Her daughter apparently for a year was saying, this can't be true, come on, think about it. But she just fell for it. But I just wonder, it's a very sad story. She's obviously now getting a lot of hate and ridicule as well.
Because she's been on French TV and she's had a huge amount of pushback from it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, where Friday's Independent has a politician not ruling something out, which means it definitely won't happen, Steve.
Yeah, Independent Generic refuses to rule out Tory party pact with Nigel Farage's Reform UK. Labour says that this means the cat's out the bag. If the Tories won't rule it out, as you say, it's going to be happening, isn't it? So just to do a recap, a man who's not in charge of a party says that the party... He can't rule out the party not doing a thing that the party said it won't do with another party that said it definitely won't do.
No, that's not the story, actually. He didn't even say he can't rule it out. He does rule it out.
Have no intention. So he says he's got no intention of seeking a deal but would not rule out an agreement himself.
No, not agreement himself. Like, he wouldn't, rule out an agreement. No, but he didn't even say that.
Have no intention is the quote.
Yeah, no intention. But then they added words, is my point.
Yeah.
Kemi says she has no intention of doing this. So that's what
She's much clearer on this, isn't she?
She's also in charge of it.
Well, she is. That's the other thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not his decision.
Yeah, this is why it's such a pointless thing. It's what I said. The guy who's not in charge of it has not ruled out a thing that both of people have already not ruled. They have ruled out.
This headline, or misleading, because he doesn't even say, yeah, maybe it will happen, or he doesn't give any indication that it's going to happen. He just says, no, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's all he does.
We're in agreement. I'm not quite sure what you're shouting.
Because he doesn't even say, well, I might put it through. Or the way that it says it, Generic refuses to rule out Tory pact. And then you read it, and he does rule out a Tory pact.
Yeah, has no intention of doing it.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. There's no refusing to rule out.
Are you angry because the headline doesn't say that?
Yeah, the headline is a lie. It's a total lie.
OK.
That's my vibe on this show. All the headlines are a lie. This is what bothers me about news.
This one is particularly egregious.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
What do you think, Cressida?
So, is he going to... do you think he should just... Is he going to be another defection? That's what is still possible, isn't it?
He's sat there waiting. He's acting like he's still in the running for the leadership. Like, he thinks Kemi's going to implode. Or he's like one of those Japanese soldiers who never got told that the war's over. He thinks the competition's
he's circling and just waiting.
But also, Reform say they don't want to...
it's not going to happen.
I mean, it's just frustrating. It's one of those articles that is just a lie, basically.
Well, Reform have got no interest at all, have they? Because they've just had another poll this week saying that they're now beating everybody. They don't want anybody else on their team. They've got all the best players and they're happy. Carry on.
Yeah, anyway. Well, I'm sure the next article totally won't be misleading at all. Telegraph, Cresta, where Farage calls out his peers and himself.
Nigel Farage, all politicians are Wers. Let's say it like that. That's how the air.
Just say Josh's.
Does it?
Wink.
No comment. It rhymes with banker. No, that's what he said. This is just the Telegraph kind of telling us what Nigel's been up to of late. Reform UK leader says he's been chatting to Elon Musk after their spat last month, and then he plays the cool guy by dissing all politicians and kind of separating himself out from them.
Well, that's it.
Because he's not like that.
Well, does he, though, separate himself? Says politicians, let's face it, they're all bankers, the lot of them. He's obviously a politician.
Well,
he's got to be self-aware enough to know that includes him.
No.
But the lot of them.
A lot of us.
Us would include yourself.
Yeah.
And then he talks about himself sticking up for we see ourselves on the side of the little man against the corporate giants. And the next line is the Reform leader also said that he'd been chatting to Elon Musk.
It's a little... What's frustrating for me about this article, Steve, is, again, it's what was the question that led into that? That would actually give us the context that would properly allow us to assess what he means by it. And they've just taken this one little bit, and then here's the whole article. And they've not included, very consciously, any context. What was the question that got there?
But he's right, they are. Certainly some of them, when they see pictures of tractors, I seem to remember, that gets them going, so...
Well, you know what, I have a suspicion for people... You know, like those the ones who were in the... You see footage of someone who's, like, at the Young Tory conference when they were 12, making a speech, and you're just like, why are you not just having a laugh?
Oh, I thought you were going, why are you not just having a...
Oh, well, yes, OK, that... Maybe
William Hague, instead of being there with his baseball cap, mate, you're 12, just go and, you know...
Yeah. OK, on to the Guardian, Steve, where first-time shoplifters will go to rehab.
So good. Send first-time low-level offenders to rehab instead of court, the Bar Council says. Now, this is because we've got a huge problem with a backlog of courts, and we don't have enough courts to deal with it. One of the solutions was to have something between magistrates and Crown courts. The problem with that is there's no one to be in charge of them because we don't have enough judges. Use the Sharia courts. I think we've got them hanging around, so just throwing out ideas. There's no such thing as a bad idea. That's one that
Chop
we
off
could
a
do.
finger.
It's, you know, they'll only do it 10 times. 11 if you... Well, anyway. But the plan is to, if you do a low-level crime, it's not even you won't go to prison. You won't even go to court. Just tell me which crimes these are, and I'll do one on the way home. Because if we're all getting a freebie at this, where's mine? It's ridiculous.
Also, the other thing that doesn't really make sense. It says low-level offenders go to rehab instead of court, but later on it means enrolling in rehabilitation. Now, rehabilitation is different from rehab, in that rehab is usually for drug purposes and whatever. You don't go to rehab. Oh, I'm going to rehab to, I don't know, to have therapy for my addiction to shoplifting.
There's nothing in that Amy Winehouse album about...
Yeah, exactly. That is my point. They're conflating two meanings of the word there. It's very annoying again. Cresta, what do you think about this idea, though?
I think this idea that you can get people to pay for their... I mean, literally pay cash for their crimes to the victim is ludicrous. I mean, shoplifters, they're not known for having lots of money, are they? I mean, good luck enforcing this. You'd need more courts to sort that out.
Or they could shoplift more to get the money to...
We need prehabilitation, not rehabilitation.
Ooh.
We need a stricter society, Josh.
Hello.
And parents and all of that.
Where did you hear this word, prehabilitation?
I just made it up.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what is the time? It's 11:27, and Cressida Wetton there has just come up.
You know this goes out. This is broadcast.
Yeah, and it is going out, and we have just tonight seen something, I believe, fresh and original, and we are at the birth of something. Prehabilitation. I'm not joking.
I'm just talking about discipline. I think we've got a very undisciplined society, and I think we should hear more from Catherine Birbalsingh and people like that, and we might have a bit less crime.
I already call it prehab. That's how cool an idea it is. I've shortened it.
Professor, why are you instantly poo-pooing it? It's such a great thing. Congratulations. I'm just saying, I'm paying homage to the moment. I'm rarely here to... in the moment of greatness. OK, Steve, the Times next, with no last-minute romantic scenes on train platforms. Rehabilitation.
The King's Cross trains vanish early from screens to ease rush. We've all been there before. You turn up at the station, you're like, oh, I've got a couple of minutes before the train goes. Look at the board, which platform it's on. I can make it to that one. So you dash. Well, not anymore. Because the trains will still be leaving at the same time. Well, they won't. They'll be late. But anyway, forget that. Move that to one side. They're taking the train info off the board earlier, 3 minutes earlier, so that you don't have a chance to go, I can make it in time.
Yeah.
No, because, yes, the one problem with this nation's trains was people running a bit to get on. What? How is this anywhere near the top of your things to solve first? What it'll mean is people will be checking their phone to work out which platform it's on, or this will be the worst one, people know the usual platform their train's on, so they'll still run to it, but on the one day they've used a different platform, you'll be on the wrong train to the wrong place. This is just going to make more problems. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I mean, have you been at Euston when they suddenly... and everyone's like, oh, my God, we're all gonna...
It's very undignified, and we all have to run to the Benny Hill music. It's how I treat Lewis. If I don't want him to say something on air, I just don't tell him. And that's what they're doing here. We don't give you the information, you can't cause trouble, but they can still cause trouble because we'll all be on our phones, exactly as you
running
said.
like this.
Do you think that we deliberately like to get on trains at the last possible second? Like, we know we have to get there hours in advance for when we're going on a plane, but then it's like, that's the best thing about being on a train is, I'm going to leave it till the last possible moment.
It's the closest I'll ever get to being Indiana Jones, as the doors start to shut, you jump on, you hassle out there, get it in.
It's
Feels
risky,
sexy.
and they're going to take that from us, not on my watch. Coming up, all killer, no filler in the next section. How homophobic is Lego? And a chance for some incels to make some extra cash. Find out more in 2. This is Headliners, only on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. We're going to see the skies remaining clear towards the northwest during the next 24 hours with some frost and fog overnight, but increasingly cloudy elsewhere as high pressure begins to migrate towards Scandinavia, and that's going to establish an easterly wind coming in from the near continent. Not one of the colder easterlies we've experienced in recent years, but chilly nonetheless, and it will bring an increase in cloud across much of England and Wales, particularly towards the southeast, where there'll be some showers moving through overnight. In the northwest, though, staying clearer with frost and fog to wake up to. And it's going to be cold everywhere, whether you've got the clear spells to the north or the cloud and that easterly wind in the south. Feeling raw under the grey skies and showery rain or sleet through London and the home counties first thing. Some brightness for West Wales, the southwest of England, northwest England as well. A frost in places, but it's Northern Ireland, central and western Scotland where we'll see the sunniest skies during Friday morning. A bit more cloud there for the east of Scotland. Otherwise, cloud-free skies for the north and west of Scotland, always a favoured spot when winds are arriving from the east, and that's going to remain the case throughout the next few days. An unfavoured spot, if you're not a fan of grey skies and sleety rain, will be East Anglia, the south and southeast, where the rain, sleet and some hill snow will become more prevalent later in the day. 5 or 6 Celsius, feeling even colder when you add on the effect of that wind coming in from the North Sea. And as we start off Saturday, wouldn't be surprised if there'll be a little bit of a covering of snow over the Welsh mountains, the moors of the southwest, the Chilterns perhaps. Not much at lower levels at all. It's a mixture of rain, sleet and snow moving across England, Wales into eastern Scotland. A lot of cloud cover, and it's going to stay cold throughout the weekend and into next week as well as we keep those east to southeasterlies.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As we've had some messages online, someone say, Anne-Marie saying, great word, I love it and we'll use it with Cresta's permission. Of course, let's get it in the dictionary. Prehabilitation. Prehabilitation. She's still wincing. She's not taking ownership of it. She did genius. Take a bow, Cressida. OK, don't take a bow. Well, I love it. Rehabilitation. Let's head first into Friday's Mail, where Cresta is going to put this story together.
Science Museum...
Sorry, let me say that again. Cresta is going to put this story together. It's about Lego.
They don't know that yet, though.
I know, but Cressida does.
It's all punchline. No,
you need to prehabilitate your laughs with my lines, please.
I'm going to like that on the internet. Science Museum's self-guide tour accuses Lego of being anti-LGBT as interlocking bricks reinforce heterosexuality as the norm. This is
so good.
A piece of news in a paper.
I knew it. I knew it.
So Lego can be anti-gay because of the way it fits. So this is, I'm just explaining in case you didn't follow this. I mean, as a child, I played with Lego a lot, and I never used the word mating when I was doing it. However, the top of the brick with sticky out pins is male, makes sense. The bottom of the brick with holes to receive the pins is female. And the process of the two sides being put together is called mating. It's not very erotic, is it?
I don't know. I used to play with my my lady bricks. And I'd get them to...
two lady side to lady side, and then maybe the other way as well.
It was, you know...
Yeah. And also, I mean, there's so much that's wrong with this. What I like about this story is, this is like the arc of my life. This would have been a fake headline on the MASH report, and yet, like, 7 years later or whatever, I'm sat here doing actual news, and this is an actual thing. Like, anti-gay Lego. I'm not an expert in lovemaking, but I believe what you don't do is get it, cram it in, and just leave it there, and that's it. And that's what this is what they're talking about
if
here.
you're into tantric,
is that what they do?
That's exactly what you do.
Well, you don't do it with loads of others nearby and just form a wall. There's so much that's wrong with this. And also, I'm not an expert on the gay male sex, but that's not all, you know, it's not all fencing, is it?
Ah, yeah, I hadn't even thought. So actually, the people who are coming up with this at the Science Museum are actually being homophobic.
It might be projection. That is possible.
Yeah. Well, so this was from 2022. I think like stories like this are going to be appearing every so often, but it's like they're excavated. We're suddenly going to discover every few months another totally stupid thing that some organisation allowed to happen.
Yeah. It comes from mission creep. Like, originally, it was trying to de-gender toys, and that's just boys playing with soldiers, girls playing with dolls, that kind of idea. And somehow from, let's not let that happen, they went to, but Lego is a bit too...
Yeah, and this is the Science Museum, which is really a museum intended for mostly children. I mean, I take my kids there quite a lot. It's mostly families there, and it's the idea that my kids are going to be listening to some tour and you see that Lego, oh no, don't look at it.
Well, there's something about the language that we use, you know, for like...
But who even uses mating when it comes to Lego?
I completely agree. You
put on a nice Barry White, get some wine, do-do-do-do-dum, oh yeah. No one else does that?
I'm not going to top that. Let's go on to The Guardian now, Steve, and it's nice that a few mums finally got some rent money.
The Home Office Commission's paid incels to take part in study.
See, that's how you laugh at a lie. Steve.
Yes, I didn't get it, but I can still laugh. I'm a trained actor. I'm in equity. Hundreds of men who identify as incels, the involuntary celibates, were paid by the government to take part in a survey. Calm down, it was 20 quid. I'm not an incel, I'm not involuntary celibate. I'm married, so voluntarily celibate, I suppose, is how you'd phrase it. But in these studies, you get paid 20 quid anyway. to say that incels shouldn't be given any money would mean that all incels must be the most problematic one you could think of. That's not the case, so therefore, just pay the money. And what do you think 20 quid's going to do? These incels are going to start doing terror campaigns, or it's going to recruit more? No, it's going to be for online gaming and whatever else they're into. Probably just online gaming.
Well, actually, they'll probably find out through the study what they would spend this money. Maybe that's just the test. What are you going to spend 20 quid on?
Yeah.
And then you can find out what incels are really into.
Could you say, with it being in The Guardian as well, they asked, do you think violence would be OK to defend incels? And they said no, but The Guardian really did a backflip to find that 5% said that violence was often justified. 5% of a survey of 500 people, so 25 people in the survey were a bit tasty.
Yeah, what do you think about this incel stuff? It's interesting that it's the first time I've ever seen an article about incels where they tried to actually make most of them seem like they could be all right.
Is that what you got from this?
It's only 5% who are into the violent stuff.
OK, yeah, fine. So maybe there's some compassion. I mean, they do mention the extremely poor mental health of incels and the high incidence of suicidal ideation and stuff like that. On the wider topic, I think it's fascinating, and this is exactly what we should be doing, looking into what's going on with incels. They're not a happy bunch. And this William Costello guy that gets mentioned, there's a great podcast with him and Ash Sarkar unpicking incel culture, and she has to be compassionate because the truth is they're very unhappy people, but she doesn't like it. I recommend you watch it.
OK, I will check. Well, I was going to ask how it is that they actually discovered the incels, because they're quite a secretive bunch, so I'm wondering if they listen to Lewis's podcast or something. That might be how they did it, I don't know. More Guardian and more concerns about suicide, assisted dying. Cressida?
Pro-assisted dying MPs fear online backlash is eroding support for bill. So committee members are blaming a toxic reaction on social media. But what's the difference between a toxic reaction and a reaction that you don't like / further debate on a very complicated topic?
Difference is GBNews.
I don't know. So this is where we're at now. We're having lots and lots of discussion about this. And the concern of some of these people is that the committee's evidence was weighted towards voices that were known to be supportive of the bill. And it's like counter-committee.
She's stacking the committee, it seems like.
Yeah.
Who is?
Kim.
Yes, exactly. That's what these other people... And they're calling this red on red because it's all within the Labour Party. Exactly.
Yeah, so it's a very contentious bill. It seems like more and more MPs are actually... People want to be sympathetic, people want to be good, and that's fine. But the more that you hear about the dangers of this bill, and even though a lot of it's still not coming out, but it's apparent that there actually is it's a lot more complicated than they might have thought initially when they voted for it, right?
Yeah, and I think they will end up losing support because of this perception of stacking the committee. You don't want that. Anyone who's on any level in favour of it wants proper questions to be asked, because that way you can actually follow this through. What restrictions will be in, what safeguards will be in. But if you don't have a sense of there being intellectual rigour in it, they just want to get an answer, well, then people won't vote for it.
Absolutely. Telegraph next, Steve, and please don't feel compelled to take a particular angle on this story. Feel free to express whatever opinion you want without repercussion.
Here we go. Pro-Palestine activists were planning London March as October 7th massacre unfolded. Actually, during the time they were getting in touch saying, we want to come up with the idea of doing a protest. It's efficient. It's multitasking. Are these the angles you were going to take on it? So it was at 12:50. There was a telephone call saying, we got the idea of the protest, which means that's barely... So at 9:35 on that day, Benjamin Netanyahu, don't know if you've heard of him, declared that the country was at war. So, they turned that around pretty swiftly, didn't they?
Well, remembering that day, waking up, getting these alerts, messages from people, have you heard from this person, heard of that? It was insane. You woke up to this evil unfolding. The imagery was put out there, of course, by Hamas themselves. And you were seeing things that you've just never seen before in modern times. And the idea, and it was ongoing, it wasn't just like it happened for an hour. When they called at 12:50, these videos were still being released. This was, 1,200 human beings, men, women, raped, children, families murdered in their homes, burnt alive. And this PSC organisation are going, you know what, we need to have a march against the victims. It's insane, Cressida.
Well, they would argue that it's preemptive and they knew what was coming. That's what they... Well, it's what they did say. A PSC spokesman told the Telegraph by that morning it was already clear that the Israeli attacks on Gaza would be of an indiscriminate violence, and we had not witnessed before, and then he goes on to say, and that 2.3 million people in Gaza would be at severe risk. That's a very specific, isn't it, thing to say. Yeah. But you see my point. They would have seen trouble coming.
Yeah, well, of course, like a country's invaded, and then they're going, oh, but, you know, this other country's going to fight back and retaliate and get its population who are being kidnapped. That's not an excuse. You still allow for some time for grief, for mourning. Yeah. The idea that this is their first reaction upon seeing over 1,000 Jews being murdered is to, like, now we're going to go out and protest. It just shows how, for me, how morally depraved this organisation is. And by the way, they spent 15 months spreading anti-Semitism across this country.
They wouldn't frame it as a protest against the victims, which is how you said it. Obviously, in their minds, that's not what they thought they were doing.
Well, but exactly at that march was the further call for the murder of Jews. So it's not like they're coming out and going, oh, let's all just get along and whatever, and condemning Hamas for these actions. They were straight away out there, and there were people there, jihadists, calling for jihad on the streets of the UK, and calling that, what was it? Oh, Jews, the army of Muhammad is returning. That's a Khaybar. It's like a part of the Quran, which is a famous bit where Muhammad went and just slaughtered this whole town of Jews.
I remember at the time there was that story about calling for jihad because we were then informed that there are many definitions of it, which includes struggle or yoga. I think it's a fruit dish or something. I think that's what we were told. I think that's how we're meant to consider it.
Yes, I think that's how we were meant to consider it. That isn't how.
Did you not buy it?
No, strangely. Cresta, it seems the colour that is most in season is marine blue.
It certainly is. Labour launches ads in reform-style branding to boast about deportations. This is so confusing to me. So Labour have made some ads in the branding of their enemy to try and make sure that their own voters don't deflect to reform. But isn't it generally the idea that if you take somebody's branding and use it, you're helping them out, aren't you? Just plugging that colour. We're seeing more of that lovely aqua blue. I do love aqua blue. I think it's just really bizarre. But the idea is that this is catching people in case they leave Labour. I just think it's bizarre.
It's like, I was going to say, it's like they've done a false flag operation the wrong way round.
Exactly.
They've given credit to someone else. Yeah, they've double flagged themselves.
There's a supermarket in Southall, and it's called Sainsbury's, and of course it's got an orange sign, and I always think, I bet that's not allowed in Sainsbury's. Sainsbury's Book of Rules.
Basically the same.
That's what they've done.
Yeah, but the idea is, because there was this, we did a report a few days ago about how there are a group of Labour MPs, mostly based in the north, who the Red Wall look like, and that they potentially will lose their seats, and they're all coming together and saying we have to push. Yeah. We have to fight reform at their own game. But as you say, I don't know if that means literally taking their branding upon them.
It hasn't got a Labour symbol on it, and it's boasting numbers about people that have been forced to leave the country in reform's colours. There's a good chance this is just going to help reform.
Yeah, what people will be like, go reform! Right, coming up, we are going to finish the show in style. Come back to learn out about Lucy Letby speed dating and find out how to make the perfect boiled egg. See you in a sec. This is Headliners, only on GB News.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's been quite a wet start to the year across Iberia, and there's more rain to come for Spain and Portugal. Plenty of sunshine, though, for Greece and across Cyprus after we had some showers here at the weekend. It is still a little on the cool side. Some showers heading into southern Italy and across Malta on Friday afternoon. Much of the south of Spain still dry at this stage, but that rain is moving in. Plenty of sunshine across the Canaries. That rain across Spain will head to the south of France as we go into the weekend, so turning wet in Nice.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
People living with obesity are people, and they deserve the right for treatment and care as much as anyone else. What we need to understand is that obesity is a chronic condition, or a disease, as some people call it. It's not a choice. And this is the bit that people really struggle with, is that people think this is a lifestyle choice and people have done this to themselves. What we now know is the science and the evidence shows us that this isn't a choice. People have genetic predispositions for living with obesity. What we need to do is be a bit more compassionate and caring to people that live with obesity and support them to make healthier choices, not actually just discriminate and tell them that they're doing something wrong when, you know, if I had asthma, for instance, you wouldn't be saying the same thing to me there. But then it's exactly the same.
Usually, if you're going for an operation of some form or other, there'll be often there is a criteria. So my mother, she had a knee operation. They wanted to make sure her blood pressure was right and all these things. This is, I mean, to hear somebody say that obesity isn't a choice just because you've got genetic predisposition to it, it's just exactly why people seem to be legitimizing being overweight. Ozempic has proved that people are overweight because they eat too much. Because Ozempic tells you to stop eating, it makes you think that you've eaten and makes you feel full, so you don't eat. You may be disposed to anything, but you also have a large percentage of responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen. So absolutely, it is in the patient's best interests, because if you're overweight, it'll take you longer to heal. You're more likely to have complications, the same if you smoke, and also the outcomes are usually better. So for a smoker, if you quit, say 4 weeks before surgery, your 25%, your risk is lower of respiratory complications. So this is literally, of course, it's discriminatory, because you have to decide, you have to prioritise the people that are likely to survive the operations.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Friday's Sun gets us going, Steve, and it has single really gotten this, being single this bad? I mean, this is scary.
Plumbing the new depths. Lucy Letby fans plan sick speed dating event to celebrate medical experts finding no evidence of murder. Twisted supporters of the baby murder, it says here in The Sun, are celebrating after medical experts said, even though they're not directly involved with the case, that there's no evidence of these crimes. It is the worst idea ever to be done. Imagine you're sitting around thinking, OK, you think she's not guilty, some news comes in your favour, let's come up with ideas, what we're going to do. If speed dating is your go-to suggest, like Crazy Golf was already got soft play, I suppose that would be bad. But the idea that you'd think, I know, let's do some speed dating. What will come of this? Who's going to say to their grandkids, like, oh, and they go, how did you meet? Well, some babies died, and that's not the story you want to pass on.
Are you going to ask each other in your 2 minutes? Who's your favourite?
I'm hugely in favour of this because it gets people out of the dating pool. You don't want in there. Yeah, get together and get out. It's horrific.
Yeah, but we need to talk about Kevin is what they're going to be creating.
Yeah.
Quite possibly. They also threw her a birthday party before this group of... I mean, look, I don't know if Lucy Letby did it or not. I don't think anybody... I mean,
I think
you know,
a judge,
the people who are the experts know.
A jury says she did.
She is guilty. But the idea that these people having a crazy night in Clapham know better is just so ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a bit where on the Facebook post, the person arranging it says, if any singles or married people, I won't judge. Yeah, not judging might be the problem here.
Yeah. A watched egg never boils has been found out to not be true, Steve, in The Guardian.
Scientists crack what they say is the perfect way to boil an egg. I'll cut to the chase because The Guardian don't. Sweet mercy, you have to read all of this.
Yeah.
But it's having a bowl at 100 degrees Celsius, one at 30 Celsius, dipping between each one every 2 minutes for 32 minutes. No! 32 minutes?
You haven't even tried it.
That's right.
Why are you being so dismissive?
Because I can get it done in like 3 to 4 minutes. Boom.
Yeah, but not as delicious. That's the point, Chris. If it's worth doing well.
No, I don't agree. I'm with Steve on this one. I've got one of those brilliant little egg timer things where the steam is all just in the thing. You don't have to engage with a pan. That's the right way to cook it.
Yeah. OK, Cresta, the Times solves why hippies are so thick.
Air pollution from candles impairs brain function, study suggests. The person that did this study loves candles. Candle flames release PM 2.5 particulate matter, which lowers cognitive ability. So if you've got a room full of kids and you're having a birthday party and you're letting them breathe that stuff in, it's really...
What happens if you have a Lucy Letby birthday party?
That's speed dating. I've actually, I agree with this because I've got one of those Gwyneth Paltrow candles, and whenever I light it, I just want to get my Lego out and just... I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why it makes me...
Yeah, it's interesting that they sort of focus on, like, birthday parties, and they're like, whatever you do, don't get together on a birthday party. And what do they want us to do?
I feel
artificial...
like this is a secret kind of... Get worried about pollution in general, guys. The world's a difficult place.
I guess so. The show is nearly over. Let's take another quick look at tomorrow's front pages. The Daily Mail, new era of stagflation thanks to Reeves' ruinous budget. Telegraph, bloated state is harming economy. The Guardian, fears over stagflation as Reeves' growth plan suffers double blow. Metro, hospitals in crisis over winter vomiting bug. The Sun, my Liam dreamed of 1D reunion, 1D ID, yeah. Star Boffins, lazy gits live longer. That is it for tonight's show. Thank you to my guests, Steve and Cresta. Cresta this evening, of course, coming up with a famous news saying, Rehabilitation. Leo Kurtz will be hosting over the weekend, and he's joined by Nick Dixon and Lewis Schaefer. I wish him well. If you're watching at 5 a.m, stay tuned for breakfast.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. We're going to see the skies remaining clear towards the northwest during the next 24 hours with some frost and fog overnight, but increasingly cloudy elsewhere as high pressure begins to migrate towards Scandinavia, and that's going to establish an easterly wind coming in from the near continent. Not one of the colder easterlies we've experienced in recent years, but chilly nonetheless, and it will bring an increase in cloud across much of England and Wales, particularly towards the southeast, where there'll be some showers moving through overnight. In the northwest, though, staying clearer with frost and fog to wake up to. And it's going to be cold everywhere, whether you've got the clear spells to the north or the cloud and that easterly wind in the south. Feeling raw under the grey skies and showery rain or sleet through London and the home counties first thing. Some brightness for West Wales, the southwest of England, northwest England as well. A frost in places, but it's Northern Ireland, central and western Scotland where we'll see the sunniest skies during Friday morning. A bit more cloud there for the east of Scotland. Otherwise, cloud-free skies for the north and west of Scotland, always a favoured spot when winds are arriving from the east, and that's going to remain the case throughout the next few days. An unfavoured spot, if you're not a fan of grey skies and sleety rain, will be East Anglia, the south and southeast, where the rain, sleet and some hills